Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is going to be a response to an email. I just finished writing this person, and I think the topic is relevant enough to make a standalone video about it. And this hits a couple of points that I often talk about. One is whenever you share too much information with your ex, either because you forget or because you just want to let them know that you've moved on, your life is getting better, and you're not so worried about, well, maybe not worried, but, things are going better. And this is what happened with this person. They've been, and let me read this to you. It says, from your videos, I found out that I made a mistake by opening up to my ex and telling him my life has been amazing recently. We've had little contact for the last 6 years, and I let my guard down. I now have him trying to cause waves and make my life miserable. I got sucked in at first. I would like to see if I could get advice from you on pickup. I drive to his house to pick up, and he comes to the car with our 13-year-old daughter. I really want him to not approach me or my car, but when I stated this boundary at the next pickup, he blew right past me and said, "This is a public street. You can't tell me what to do. Do you think it would be appropriate to bring the police for exchange, or should I just continue to insist on my boundary and record what happens and only involve police if it keeps happening? I want to have this affect. I do not want to have this affect our daughter, and I want to be able to give him. I do not want to be able to give him a chance to come near me to start useless conversations. Thank you for helping me so we don't feel all alone. I appreciate you so much." Okay. First, I hate pickups. If you are in the beginning parts of this and you have not finished your court order, please, for the love of God, do not do pickups. Do drop-offs. Make everything to where each one of you is driving up, getting the kids out of the car, and they are going into the house. You do not want to be in a situation where you are pulling up and waiting for them to get there or for them to come out or to try to get a hold of them. It is just, it's a setup for a problem. I had this initially in my situation where it was pickups, and it was what this person is talking about is exactly the same thing. The ex would literally come out and clip everyone into the vehicle, would come in and give them hugs and get them all situated and get them all spun up too, to where everybody was all upset, and the drive to school when this was happening would be just so fun. Now, in this particular situation, I would not at this stage recommend involving the police, because unless her court order clearly states that he is to not come out, then you have nothing to stand on. You can't force the person to stay in or do anything. There's not even a contempt charge. If you're thinking that they're doing something wrong or escalating, again, the problem is that if they aren't escalating and you're involving people, then it could be easily turned around to make it look like you or this person is creating the conflict, creating the tension, creating the problems. Now, the other flip side to this is, and this is what I had recommended, it's like, I wouldn't recommend doing that. If you're really at the point to where you need to involve the police, I would suggest going back to court and modifying your court order to hopefully just do drop-offs, not pickups, and then put in some of those other things. Like my permanent orders don't say stay in the house and stuff because we switched it to drop-offs, but there was a temporary order that was created that did say you will stay inside. It makes it really tough, right? And if you bring the cops, this person was talking about, we're not wanting to have this affect their 13-year-old daughter. It absolutely is. What I would do in this situation is not get out of the car. Stay in the car, keep the windows rolled up, wait for your daughter to come up. If the ex does come up to the car, only roll the window down just a little bit if you need to. And don't involve in much conversation. Just, basically kind of stare at them and maybe say, "What's up?" And if they say something, just kind of don't respond and say, "Okay, we got to go," and then leave. This is one of those really tough things. And the sad part is it seems like this all happened because this person let their guard down and let them know that life had been great. I know we all want to not engage with our exes, but we want to let them know that they are not affecting our lives, that we're doing better, that things are better in spite of them. I made that mistake a couple of times, and nothing good ever came from it. I quickly learned that the more that they think that something is that you're disgruntled, that you're really not happy, that they're still getting to you, then they don't have to work so hard, right? They get that narcissistic supply, thinking that they still have you wrapped around their finger, even though they don't. And that's the thing, is you have to look at these situations on, how does whatever decision you make affect your peace and your sanity? And like I said, I learned early on that it kept my life simpler just to let her believe this illusion that I'm just this disgruntled, bitter, angry person, not willing to ever let go of my anger and my bitterness. So it's a charade. It's a charade on my part. It's an act that I'm playing to keep things as simple as possible. To be perfectly honest, I'm actually surprised it works because, I'm been in a relationship with someone. Granted, we don't live together, but I've been in a relationship a long time. Things are, progressing on, but but I'm not rubbing it in. I'm not going around, oh, life is so great. I'm not trying to send emails or do anything to escalate it, because I don't want what this person is talking about. I don't want any part of this. To be honest, earlier I sent a email for billing information for our youngest daughter, and I'm kind of in this mode where I was reluctant to send it because I'm like, oh my God, the possibility that this is going to open up a dialogue, and I don't want that. I don't want anything to do with the ex. Kind of like what this person is saying too. At 13 years old, that's still a long, which is technically where I'm at. I'm at 14 years. So, I still, it's 5 years for her, 4 years for me, depending on how their order's written, but that's typically standard. So you got this amount of time with, junior high and high school before things get to the point where you really don't have to have an interaction. So on this, the final part on this is if you're in this mode, just don't share that type of information. And then the second part of this is you have to really look at it and decide, is this worth going back to court to try to set those boundaries up? This person, as I read a minute ago, was talking about, I have my boundaries. You're going to follow my boundaries. Honestly, when it comes to kids in this type of situation, if it's not in paper, if it's not in your court order, you have nothing to stand on. And realistically, even if it is in the court order, oftentimes they'll play games with it because you'll have to take them to court take him back to court for contempt. Oftentimes, if you call the police, they won't be interested in being involved in this. They're like, not our problem. That's a civil matter. You need to go back to court. So it's really tough, right? Because you get into these modes where you want to stand up for yourself. You want your boundaries respected. And you want to respect yourself by having those boundaries and not folding. The problem is you have to be very cautious of the battles that you pick, of when you decide to fight that. For instance, to be perfectly honest, I do not like, I don't know if I mentioned this. I know I mentioned this in the email I sent back to this person, but I don't know if I mentioned this in this video. But the ex, when she comes over, she'll pull up in the driveway when she's dropping off, and she'll hang out for a while and get out and hug everybody and make a big deal. When I drop off like, see you guys, have a good time. See you see you in a couple of days. See you whenever the next time is. They get out of the car. We do kind of hugs in the car. I don't get out of the car. I do not want to be in a situation to where there's any opportunity for any prolonged conversation. I really dislike that she pulls up into the driveway and she does that. And she didn't for the longest time. I mean, this is just a recent thing. Because it used to be that she wouldn't pull up into the driveway. She would just pull up at the edge of the street. The kids would get out, leave, and she would drive off. Now, like in the last year, and I know it's for effect, right? I mean, I know that it's just to push things, and it's in one of those double binds, because if I say anything about it, if I say anything to the kids, it makes me sound petty and bitter, which would go along in with the mode. But it's like, it's not worth it, right? It's not worth it. So I'm just like, my thing is I don't want her to come up to the door. And fortunately that hasn't happened. And I have security cameras and everything to kind of watch that. You just have to, pick your battles, right? And like what I'm talking about in this is one of those battles that's, in my mind, it's not worth fighting. It's not worth meaning my situation with the driveway thing. The biggest problem for this person is your captive audience. You're waiting for your kids to get out, which sets up an opportunity for this exact thing to happen, which is why I hate pickups. Do everything as drop-offs and try to do that. Also do it at school. Make it to where you drop off in the morning on your transition day at school, and the other person picks them up after school. Minimize those interactions. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have other suggestions for this person, please put that down in the comments below. I would love to hear how you've dealt with this, because I know this is a common thing. And if you think that one-on-one coaching could be helpful for situations like this, you can book some time over at dadsfindmedivorce.com/coaching, and we can go and deep dive into the details if you have something like this. And on that, just try to stay calm in these things. Don't take their bait. Don't jump into their drama. Try to minimize it as much as possible, and be careful of the battles that you pick. And on that, I will chat with you in the next video. Take care.